Vegas Scoreboard Express, Saturday and Sunday mornings at 6 on AM 1400 KSHP North Las Vegas. Online at KSHP.com.
Keep it locked with your boy on the ones and twos. Going in on the wheels of steel.
You're listening to the boss of the big ball. That's the truth. Jay Payne. This is it. The cocaine and the crack. They all sound the same to me.
There's a war going on outside. No man is safe from.
Scoreboard. What we're praying for. That's how I'm living. That's how we do it. That's just the way it is. That's the reason why I came to you.
Drink and women and money.
Good morning, Las Vegas. All my sports bettors around the world. I'm back in action. JB the Ticket. Vegas Scoreboard Express waking you up early this Saturday morning. It's college football, people. Football is back in the building. Got the pro leagues in training camp. Got college football in school camp. And I'm here to break down the grease with you this morning. Got my main man, Ron, Third Down Best Bets on the line with me. Ron, are you there?
I'm here, brother. Good morning.
That's what I'm talking about. We got to wake you up early in the morning. JB the Ticket and Vegas Scoreboard Express. You guys can check out the show live at VegasScoreboardExpress.com. You can also find me on the TuneIn app, Spotify, all of your download apps, Apple Podcasts, you name it. We want to get you where you want to be. Also want to give a big shout out to my main man, Tommy C. over at Chapman Jeep Chrysler Dodge in Henderson. Hooked your main man JB the Ticket up with that new slab. You know what time it is. Making it happen for me. Did everything he said and brought a little bit of trust from me back to the car industry here in Vegas. So shout out to my main man Tommy C. All the guys and ladies, Miss Lisa over in the finance department. You got guy Jeremiah. He was over there rocking with me. You got Jasmine, Giselle. Yeah, you just got to give them all a shout out. They made my day great. So that's how I'm going to start the show. When I get back, I got my main man Ron Third Down Best Bets. We are going to give you a Pac-12 preview. We told you first the Pac-12 was falling apart. It's going to be the Pac-0 very, very soon. All the teams are jumping ship. But when I get back from this short commercial break, Ron Third Down Best Bets is going to break it down. Also give you that USC preview. And then later on in the show, I'm bringing him on with us. Chief Capper, John Ryan from the Predictive Sports Playbook channel. Going to be talking about that Big Ten. And you know some of the Pac-12 teams are moving to the Big Ten. So this is going to be an exciting day for you. So grab your bankroll, get ready to hit the window and beat the line. Giving you picks today, conference champions, who's going to put that cash in your pocket, who's going to be the dog that barks and gets loose. So you guys keep it locked here, JB the Ticket and Vegas Scoreboard Express. Follow me on Instagram at JB the Ticket. But most importantly, keep it locked here, 107.1 FM and AM 1400, live every Saturday and Sunday morning, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. It's time to grab your bankroll, people. Let's get some money.
You're listening to the boss of the big ball. JB the Ticket. Vegas Scoreboard Express. Giving you that grease.
This football season, stay in the game with Fubo TV. Over 100 live channels, including NFL Network, NBA TV, and FS1. Don't miss any of the action. Get 7 days free on us at VegasScoreboardExpress.com. Don't get cabled, get Fubo TV.
Pine Hollow Winery is the first and only boutique winery in the Las Vegas city limits that features its own handcrafted wines. Located on the west side just minutes from the Strip at 7018 West Charleston, Pine Hollow wines are available for tasting by the glass, bottle, or for carryout. Peach lovers, pick up a bottle of the Warm Fuzzy, which is a sweet Chardonnay-style wine made with peach and apricots. Visit PineHollowWinery.com for their events, wine menu, and hours. That's PineHollowWinery.com.
Yo, 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 you in the mood. World's finest, man.
And I had to come to him.
The DJ keeping the party going. The DJ keeping the party going all night long. You're listening to the boss of the big boy. JB the Ticket. Vegas Scoreboard Express.
back at you live. Got my main man Ron Third Down Best Bets on the line with me. You know what time it is. Pac-12 is in the building. But a lot of those teams are soon to be out the building. JB the Ticket, Vegas Scoreboard Express, again, waking you up every single Saturday and Sunday morning, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. Pacific time, 9 to 10 on the East Coast. Want to give a shout out to my main man, Naeem the Dream. Philadelphia native out here in Las Vegas listening to JB the Ticket, waking you up early in the morning. Ron, are you there on the line? Did you get your coffee? Did you get where you want to be this morning? Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I'm here ready to roll, brother.
Yes, I'm back in studio. Again, give a shout out to my folks over at Chapman Jeep Dodge. Again, Tommy C. If you need a car in Las Vegas, and you know JB the Ticket hates car companies, hates buying cars, hates everything to do about mechanics. I don't hate Chapman Jeep Chrysler Dodge over in Henderson. Tommy C. Giving him a shout out because this man, a.k.a. OG Tommy C., didn't lie to your boy JB. Got me ready to ride for the new season. So without further ado, let's jump into it. My main man got the Pac-12 coming into this season. Everybody knows that the Pac-12 has decided to break itself up. So, Ron, let's talk a little bit about it because, like I said before, you know, over the last couple of years, we've been covering the NIL deals. We've been covering the shift in college football, college sports in general especially, that has had the changes that have been transpiring for years between investigations, between issues with coaches. Now we're in the NIL era, and players and coaches essentially alike are both receiving income on the field. So before we jump into this Pac-12 preview, you know USC is leaving. You know UCLA is leaving. We also heard last night Oregon is now moving, I think, to the Big 12. Something like that, man. I mean, it's just getting wild out here in college sports land, and the realignment of conferences due to football has been the catalyst for that. We saw it long ago with the Big East. The realignment of the ACC hurt the basketball schools to try to get some of that football money. So, Ron, talk to me about what you've been seeing out in California. And again, you guys can follow Ron over on Instagram at RaiderHawk1. That's RaiderHawk1. So, Ron, talk to me about what you've been seeing. Go ahead.
Yeah, everybody's jumping off ship, man. There's a harbor out here, and there's boats out here, and nobody's driving them. They're trying to figure out where to go, what league to join. It's crazy out here right now for college football. I mean, it's just done. They just blew up the Pac-12. I mean, everybody knew it was coming to a point, but I don't think they thought it'd be destroyed like this. And they just took it clean.
Somebody.
And I hate to say it, but there ain't much out here to replace it.
No.
I mean, there's nothing here. San Diego State's about the biggest, best team left over in here, and even they don't want to be in the Pac-12.
Yeah, I mean, San Diego State, Mountain West stalwarts, one of the better college football teams here on the West Coast. But with that being said, do you think that the Pac-12 as a conference is pretty much done? Because when you look at it, we saw this happen with the Big East. I don't know if any of you guys watched 30 for 30s, but there was a great 30 for 30. They really don't show it, and I think I know why, because it kind of exposes what's been going on the last couple of years and seasons. It's called the Requiem for the Big East. And this particular 30 for 30, shout out ESPN, for producing something of quality that I can still consume and get some sports information and entertainment along with it. But the whole point of it was that the realignment of the Big East, due to the attraction of some of the schools that were more in the southern region of the Big East and the DC, what they call DMV region, wanting to move to bigger conferences due to football. You look at the situation, like I said, University of Miami, they've gone into the ACC, haven't won a national championship since. And they were stalwarts of the Big East, always in the top 10 rankings. But that adjustment somehow, some way didn't translate over into dominance. And then, they were under investigation, had a lot of that NCAA crap happening to them over the last 10 to 15 years. So when you talk about it from the perspective of the change in college football, the kids normally would be considered amateurs. Now they're able to make money for their NIL. I think you're going to see it a lot more. Conferences are going to be becoming leagues with their own divisions, and especially with college football, that's essentially the farm system for the pro football league here in America. And they've got some semi-pro leagues, and they've got some other pro leagues that are trying to come up and fill the gap and give more guys opportunity for reps. But for the last 100 years, really, college football has been the main item. So let's begin jumping into it. Rotation number. Hold on, let me pull that up for you. What happened to it? I have no idea. But yeah, we were talking about it. Yeah, here goes the betting lines. Talking about that Pac-12, bringing up the rotation numbers for you. But Ron, USC rotation number 101 at plus 200. Now, this is a team that a lot of people have watched over the years be quite dominant. But now, with the advent of the NIL, changes of coaches, hasn't really been a stalwart coach in that university for quite some time. They've had just a lot of turmoil. When you talk about the USC Trojans, they've got Caleb Williams back at quarterback. He's projected to go in the first round. But again, don't quote us on that because we've seen quite a few quarterbacks not actually go in the first round that we thought were first round projections. And then we've seen quarterbacks, again, not going to say any names, it's college football day today, go in this recent draft who had less than 50 snaps. So when you talk about a guy who's been proven, he's focused, he won the Heisman last year, just like you said, we talked about that. He was in the running there. Never really been a back-to-back winner, but at plus 200, I'm looking at this entire conference. Again, these being brought to you by BetUS. Go over to betus.com, use offer code VSX125 in all of your legal jurisdictions over age 21. And of course, if you have a gambling problem, don't do that and get some help. Plus 200, what do you see with this team? Go ahead.
Well, they're ready to go. I mean, the cover's stocked. I mean, they finally improved the defense. The offense was really incredible last year. They're ready to go. I mean, they should dominate this last season. The only team that really, even roster-wise, is close would be Oregon. Oregon's got a great roster. I mean, they got a really good team.
Right. Now, we're talking about scoring points for USC. You know, they picked up former Oklahoma head coach Lincoln Riley. He's in his second year, but it all hinges on the defense, and we know that the defense was a little bit of a problem for the Trojans in 2022. But they have defensive coordinator Alex Grinch. Great name, by the way, Alex Grinch, coming back after that terrible end of last season. So when you talk about it from the defensive side of the ball, we haven't seen USC be as dominant. And also, like I said before, looking at a lot of these transfers that are coming in, you had Bear Alexander, he's coming in from Georgia, Anthony Lucas, Texas A&M, Mason Cobb, Oklahoma State. And then you had, and he's a linebacker, those two guys. And then you had the cornerback, D-back, Christian Roland Wallace out in Arizona. So they have reloaded on the defensive side of the ball, picked up some SEC talent to play in a depleted Pac-12 this year. And again, with Lincoln Riley on offense, pushing the ball down the field with Caleb Williams, I think this team goes as the defense goes. Do you think with those additions on the defensive side of the ball, barring injury, should be able to help them compete this year and go forward? Go ahead.
Yeah, you just said the word I was going to say, barring injury. It's all going to be about the health and their depth. They don't have a ton of depth. You know, they have between their team and the Pac-12, but they got to face Georgia's down the road if they're going to win something.
If they're going to win something, yes.
Alabama, and they're going to need everybody on board when they do that. That's the difference between Georgia and Alabama. There's been teams that have been close that could go out there and compete with them. Mm-hmm. But you have to have everything go right.
Well, they've got a really soft schedule.
No turnovers, no penalties when you get against those teams. And that's the fine line that people don't talk about.
That's the thing. And they've got a really soft schedule to start. Coming up, first game of the season at home versus San Jose State. Now, again, from a betting standpoint, that could be valuable. San Jose State had a stellar season last year coming out of their conference. And then they come in to Nevada, playing up in Reno, or actually at home. Reno comes out there and sat out the Nevada Wolfpack. Then the game, first conference game of the season. We're going to start seeing this more and more with the Pac-12 because, again, they didn't have a strong non-conference schedule due to the fact of all the upheaval and turmoil in the league. So that first conference game going up against the Stanford Cardinal. Let's talk about it. Stanford is at the bottom of this division. This is a long dog that is barking. Rotation number 112. The Stanford Cardinal at plus 10,000 to win this conference. When you talk about a team like the Stanford Cardinal who have been relevant, seriously relevant, over maybe the last 30 years. But when you come to the last 5 years, I mean, this team has been on a milk carton. Haven't won a dime, haven't put anything as far as quality talent in the NFL. A lot of undrafted free agents. But when recognizing, again, from the NIL perspective, this is a high-level academic school. The founders of this school wanted to make it the Harvard of the West, and they have succeeded in that. But from the standpoint of sports, I don't see a lot of kids trying to go up to Redwood Country, and they've got a brand-new head coach, Troy Taylor, massive rebuilding effort in front of him. He's only got a return of 6 starters. They allowed 36 points a game in the Pac-12 last year versus those inept offenses, and they struggled against the run at 224 yards game allowed. So they've got tight end Benjamin Jurasic, and again, that running back E.J. Smith. But talking about the running back position, I don't think a lot of production is going to come out of the college running backs this year either, just simply because they know that if they try to go to the NFL and they were prima donna in college, they know they're not going to get paid the way that they should. But Stanford at plus 10,000, how the big red tree has fallen. Go ahead.
Yeah, they really have. I mean, it's a gentleman made an interesting point yesterday that with those teams that are left in the Pac-12, the 4 teams, and Stanford being the most successful of them, none of them have football championships since 1930s. Stanford was the only one, or excuse me, I stand corrected. There was basketball championships. Cal won a championship in like 39, I believe it was.
We're talking about the gridiron. You already know that.
No. I'm getting back to that. That's the problem. There's nothing left for the gridiron. What's left?
Well, what I would say is this:
that are left have anything left. There's no competitiveness. Once these teams are gone, this league is done.
Well, I think that Stanford, Cal, those type of schools, if you're talking
Washington State or what's left.
No. We're not going to talk about the state schools. I'm going to make a prediction here, and you know I do predictions a lot on this show. I'm going to make a prediction here. The reality with this particular situation in the Pac-12, I think the Ivy League should expand. Think about what I'm saying. You're talking about Cal and Stanford, 2 teams that are known for their academic prowess. All of the NILs at those schools with academic prowess are going to go to the non-TV sports like swimming, tennis, and gymnastics. We see the biggest earner in the NIL right now is that young lady down at LSU who's the gymnast. So when you talk about it from that perspective, I see a lot of teams from the West Coast moving to Midwestern conferences, looking to kind of get more into the heart of America. I think Stanford would do itself some service to call the commissioners over at the Ivy League, because it's like, look, giving those East Coast kids a chance to come out west and play a couple of teams, you have the academic quality. It only makes sense to me. Let's move down the line here and the Pac-12. And again, we got my main man, John Ryan, going to be coming up with us shortly. Oregon, another team that we found out is moving. I think they're moving to the Big 12, right? Hold on, say that again.
Them and Washington are going to the Big 10. Colorado, Utah, and Arizona State went to the Big 12.
Okay, well, there you go. There you go. So you got people leaving this conference like there are roaches on the ground in the restaurant. JB the Ticket, Vegas Scoreboard Express. When I get back from this short commercial break, me and Ryan are going to round out the Pac-12, and then we're going to bring him on the line with us. John Ryan, Chief Capper at Predictive Sports Playbook channel. He's going to talk about the Big Ten. We're just going to have a big roundtable today, man. I'm going to keep all 3 of you on the line. We ain't going to do nothing crazy. Coming up this season, you guys here in Las Vegas are going to be able to call into the show. You got to keep it respectful, but we're going to talk about some sports betting. We're going to give you the picks that you need to put the cash in your pocket. So, Ron, before this short commercial break, give me a couple of shout-outs, and then we will bring on John Ryan once we finish breaking down this Pac-12. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to go with my family shout-outs. Both my brother and sister both dealing with some health issues right now. My brother, Richard, rooting for a big recovery from you, and my sister, Joni. Love you both. Want you both to get better. Get ready for football season.
That's right. Get ready for this football season over on Fubo TV. Go to FuboTV.com/JB. I'm going to pick you up with that 15% off and giving you 7 days absolutely free. No contract, no credit check, no installation, and you can cancel at any time. It's a great way to watch games on the go. And again, I'm giving you that 7 days free so you can try it, like it, and then once you find out that you've got every single game on your phone, and then with a little HDMI or one of those Fire Sticks, watch it on the big screen. Save yourself a ton of money. So, again, when I get back from this short commercial break, more with Ron, third down best bets, and then we're going to bring him into the conversation. John Ryan from the Predictive Sports Playbook, talking about that Big Ten. So keep it locked here with JB the Ticket and Vegas Scoreboard Express. Let's get the money.
You're listening to the boss of the big boss, JB the Ticket. Vegas Scoreboard Express. Giving you that grease.
This football season, stay in the game with Fubo TV. Over 100 live channels, including NFL Network, NBA TV, and FS1. Don't miss any of the action. Get 7 days free on us at VegasScoreboardExpress.com. Don't get cabled. Get Fubo TV.
JB the Ticket, Vegas Scoreboard Express, back at you live. I got my guys on the line. Ron, third down best bets, VSX digital sports contributor and co-host. Ron, you there?
I'm here, Bob.
All right, and I think I got him with us. John Ryan, Predictive Sports Playbook, Chief Capper in the building from the East Coast. John, are you on the line with us this morning? Go ahead.
I'm certainly am. I'm honored to be on the line, too.
That's what I'm talking about, man.
There in Vegas.
Waking you up early in the morning, JB the Ticket and Vegas Scoreboard Express. Thank you guys so much for locking in with us here this morning to give you the grease this Saturday, talking some college football conference previews. Now, right before we were on the line here, we were talking to Ron, third down best bets, about that Pac-12. You know it's falling apart. And now we've got John Ryan again, Chief Capper and CEO over at Predictive Sports Playbook. You can follow him over on the Bird or the X at John Ryan Sports 1. Now, John, the reason why I wanted to bring you into this conversation is because the Pac-12 has a few teams going over to the conference that you're going to be previewing today, which is the Big Ten. Also, in relationship to that, you know that if you were listening right before you came on, I had mentioned a little bit about college basketball, the Requiem of the Big East, which is a ESPN documentary, 30 for 30, that talked about the realignment of the Big East for football purposes and how it negatively affected that conference in regards to basketball and fandom. But in relationship to football, we're still finishing up the Pac-12. So let's roll down this rotation number. John, feel free to jump in. I'll give both of you guys the floor. We got a half hour here to drop the grease. We talked about them a little bit. Rotation number 102, the Oregon Ducks. Now, Ron, you had mentioned that the Oregon Ducks are moving out of conference as well. They're at plus 300. Now, this is a team that has really stepped up to the plate and represented the Pac-12 over the last decade and a half into college season or college football season, postseason play, and in some national championships games. Got mollywopped each time, though, unfortunately. Didn't win you any dog money. But they just missed a trip to the Pac-12 championship last year. But they've got an SEC quarterback coming in, former quarterback over at Auburn. Bo Nix is returning. He's got a high-powered offense, 38 points a game. And like I said, Coach Dan Lanning is looking to try to bring these guys back to respectability. They would love to leave as Pac-12 champions in the final year of its current incarnation. What say ye guys? Go ahead, Ron. I'll start with you.
Yeah, Oregon's got a really good chance. I mean, there's not much competition coming from the north. It's Washington, and their roster's stacked. I mean, Bo Nix has looked really good at the end of last year, and they're primed for a good run. Oregon's got a very good chance. It's probably going to be Oregon USC in the Pac-12 title game.
Right. They've got 7 starters back on defense. Now, John, I know you're the Big Ten guy, but you are a professional sports bettor. And again, you guys can follow John over on the Twitter, Bird, X, whatever they want to call it, at John Ryan Sports 1. He's got the Predictive Sports Playbook. Definitely going to be putting some cash in your pocket. So from your perspective, Ryan, I know talking about this Pac-12 for a little bit, what do you think the Oregon Ducks are going to do? I think they're the cream of the crop in this particular conference. They are my pick to win the Pac-12 at plus 300. That's a lot of good value. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, I don't know which is more confusing, the Pac-12 demise or this Twitter new X thing. They're pretty confusing to me. And, you know, in all seriousness, is it going to be fun to say that Rutgers is now playing their rival Washington Huskies? I mean, I don't see how this is all going to work. more importantly, I'll just digress for a second. My greatest concern is what happens to the Pac-12 women's softball conference. That is a monumentally great conference that now is being turned upside down. So it's more than just football, and I think people have to realize that these realignments are going to impact a lot of great conferences, from swimming to softball to all of them, and it really is concerning to me.
Well, I look at it from the perspective of that NIL deal. You just mentioned the teams and the sports at these universities. We're not seeing big-time NIL deals for these college athletes. A lot of them don't even have a photo or a name on a lot of this releases that I'm reading from the camps to get this information. But, yes, that's going to affect it because, like I said, the NIL deals have been going to what we call these non-TV sports. Those young ladies and young men, mainly the young ladies, cashing in,
Giving you that green.
putting it together with their stuff. But on the same token here, and I said it before the commercial break, I think Cal and Stanford should call the Ivy League and say, look, everybody else is traveling across the country, national conferences. Let's make it happen, because from the perspective of academics, these guys ain't going to get top quality athletes in the NIL deal era.
Somebody call.
Businesses in that area are not going to do it.
Include Cal Berkeley on that list, too.
That's what I said, yeah. Cal, Berkeley, and Stanford make an Ivy League West. Again, those are the two schools out west that are the top cream of the crop in regards to academics, and they still have respectable Division I Power 5 conference ability to recruit and attract the type of players who can keep up with the academic rigors. And like I said, I don't really know the situation in the Ivy League as far as NIL, but I know a lot of those kids that go to these Ivy League schools don't necessarily need the extra cash. But moving on down the line here in the Pac-12 so we can get into this Big Ten, talking about them, another team, the Washington Huskies, rotation number 103 at plus 320. This is another team that, again, had a great season last year. They brought in, I think that kid's name was Penix. He was from Indiana. Great quarterback. They thought he was going to possibly be a Heisman Trophy winner. He was a candidate. He got some votes, but didn't quite do it. Again, Michael Penix Jr. is coming back. He's got Rome Odunze, Jalen McMillan. Those were two receivers that were proven to give him that opportunity to be in the Heisman running. He's in it again this year. Don't have the line in front of me, but you talk about a coach, Kalen DeBoer, who just got into this conference to dominate the Pac-12, bringing in guys, again, those SEC guys, those Big 12 guys, to kind of bring a resurgence to this program. And now, Ron, I think you said, and I'll let you go first, they wanted to switch conferences or put something together to leave that conference. How do you think this team is going to fare this year? Because they're right under Oregon at plus 320. Do you think they're going to have another Cinderella season? Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a Cinderella because they're known now. I mean, Michael Penix has been good. He was really good at Indiana, so they're not going to surprise anybody this time. But I worry about their defense. I haven't heard anything about a stalwart on defense. Washington, that was always one of their trademarks. Always had a stud defensive lineman or a linebacker that was tearing it up. You're not hearing it all of a sudden out of Washington. Right. But they got the offense. I think that's what's going to hurt them in the long run is a lack of defense.
Okay, good. John, you go ahead and jump on that pause.
Yeah, I agree with that, too. DeBoer runs the air raid, which means that they're going to score a lot of points, and they're probably going to score pretty quickly, which means that time of possession is going to go in favor of the opponent. They run a 4-2-5 defensive scheme, which is pretty common in the Pac-12. But like he said, that's the big question mark with them. They have all the talent on offense, the offensive line with Santano, left tackle. He's a huge guy that's going to protect Penix again this year. And they have a lot of returning chemistry on that offensive line. So the offense ought to be really, really good. We're going to see a lot of, 49, 45 type of games in the Pac-12 this year when these teams hook up.
Sounds like a lot of overs are going to be coming into play. Moving right along down that list, talking about the Utah Utes at rotation number 104. These guys are at plus 600. Now, Utah has been very strong in the Pac-12 over the last couple of seasons, produced a little bit of NFL talent. Now, they've got quarterback Cameron Rising. Tore his ACL last year, but he's recovering. He's coming back from that. But we don't know if he's going to be able to be the starter. Now, the Utes have won back-to-back Pac-12 titles. Now, these are last year's champions. So coming in this year with such a good value at plus 600, do you think that Utah, another team that hasn't had too many changes on offense and or defense, they got the return from their tight end, Brant Kuthi. He missed all of 2022, so he's a huge boost to getting these guys in that red zone attack to try to get more points on the board. Another good bet. I like Oregon But Utah, for those Utah Ute fans and those alumni bets, do you think this is valuable at plus 600? I think that could be a dog that's barking. Go ahead, Ron. Go ahead. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, it's okay. Utah is really good. Utah, there was a reason they won the Pac-12 last year. They're built well. Kyle Whittingham doesn't get a lot of credit, but he's built a really solid team there. They hit, they play aggressive, they believe in each other, and he's just got a really good winning environment there. And that stadium is really hard to go into and win. But Cameron Rising is one tough bugger. I mean, last year he got popped in that country there. He got creamed. He gets right up and looked at the guy and gave him the guy a pat on the back. You don't see that no more. You see guys yelling and talking and throwing their gestures. He just got up, pat the guy on the back. It's a good hit.
There you go.
That was incredible. He got nailed, and he got right up. That kid is tough. Scrapper quarterback that has the it factor. So, yes, Utah definitely has a chance.
Now, let's talk about their running back. They've got a rising star at running back in college. He's the number 1 running back, Jaquindon Jackson. And this one going over to you, John. You talk about Utah from the perspective of what they can do. Coach Kyle Whittingham has been making moves here, and you look at their non-conference schedule, starting off very tough with Florida and Baylor, that Big 12 team down there. SEC stalwarts on the line, and they got USC, got to go up to Oregon State, and then Washington for their first 3 games in league play. So when you talk about it from that perspective, the tough non-conference schedule, the road schedule to start the season, do you think that could be a hindrance to Utah? And if they're able to come out of this maybe 4-2, do you think that in the long run that plus 600 could maybe put cash in your pocket with these guys winning that championship? Go ahead.
Yeah, this is the value bet in the conference, no doubt about it. Because if they come out of their 4-2 or 5-1 even out of that stretch, they're going to be ranked pretty high. And then it's going to be talk about a showdown with USC more than likely. But I do like their ground attack here. They don't run they run more of a traditional offensive scheme, mixing in play action pass. And I think that's a great combination with their defensive unit, which brings back just about everybody from last year. So the one thing they have to do, though, guys, is when they're playing in revenge situations, they haven't been so good when they're coming off playing an opponent off a straight up dog loss. So they've gone 1-8 in that role. And I think that trend, if you see that trend, it's not one to bet against Utah this year. These trends change. They revert back to the mean. And I think that's one to look at when they're playing with revenge. I think you do bet on the Utah Utes this year. And I think they're going to come through in those situations.
That is a dog that is barking. It is alive. Utah at rotation number 104. Moving down the list here, you got Oregon State, 105 at plus 1,000. What do you think these Oregon State Beavers are going to do? Because, again, they have been a little bit flippity-floppity in this Pac-12 over the last decade, but now picked to finish towards the bottom of the pack. Oregon State right now at number 5. They got head coach Jonathan Smith on a rise last year, 10-3 last year. Very important because I never had these guys on my betting board. And then they beat Florida out here in the Las Vegas Bowl. That's why I wanted to talk a little bit about Oregon State. So they have got a lot of talent. And as you said before, we were going to talk about the ACC tomorrow. Again, you guys be sure to tune into that college football preview. Got some great guests coming up for you. But they picked up former Clemson starter DJ Ugalele. Now, that tells you a lot about that ACC football. I told you that Dabo Swinney, it's just a matter of time, people. When Nick Saban decides to hang that hat for good, he's going to go ahead and say, look, we'll give this Stetson over to Dabo Swinney. But yes, Clemson lost starter DJ Ugalele. He's now the starter at Oregon State. From a betting standpoint at plus 1,000, do you think that quality talent coming into Oregon State is going to be enough for the Beavers to compete for this Pac-12 championship this season at plus 1,000? Go ahead, Ron. Take it to you.
Not to compete for a Pac-12 championship. I don't think it is. Because he's really good. That's all about him, though, unfortunately. They didn't bring in a lot of line talent. I mean, they can run the ball really well. If they keep with that offense, they stay in their scheme, they'll be okay. But they don't have the talent to compete with Oregon on a consistent basis, with USC, even UCLA right now. I mean, they just don't have enough overall. Once again, I question the defense.
Yeah, they've had some issues on the defensive side, the secondary. They've got some transfers. Omar Speights went to LSU. So, John, I'll throw this one over to you. Oregon State at plus 1,000. Now, last year, again, a stellar record. They played well, but as you talked about and mentioned earlier, these trends change. But they've got a good starter coming in if he can stay healthy and make it out of camp as the number one in DJ Uiagalelei. Do you think that's a possibility for Oregon State getting that type of quality talent, a national power talent coming in from Clemson to kind of boost that offense? Because, again, last year at 10-3, they beat an SEC team in their bowl game, so it wasn't a fluke. Do you think they can still have some of that power? Ron says no, but what say you as far as that trend? They were trending up last year. Go ahead.
Well, I think they're going to level out. I agree with what he said. It's hard to make a case with Oregon looking for not only a Pac-12 but a berth in the playoffs. In the postseason. Oregon, that's one game I already have circled here because the Oregon State Ducks have beaten them twice now in the last 3 times since Smith has been the head coach. So, there's a bad taste in the Oregon Ducks mouth right now when they have to play them again, because this is about recruiting too.
Mm-hmm.
And the winner of this game will have an edge to get the best talent in the state and also nearby states. So I think that's the game I'm looking at where Oregon's really going to possibly give it to them, especially if Oregon's coming in off a loss. I mean, I would be all over Oregon in that situation.
All right, moving down the list, he's telling you that Oregon State could be trending at an even spot this year. Keep a look at them on the list. Got UCLA on the list, rotation number 106 there at plus 1,400. Give a shout out to Dorian Robinson. That young man was balling for the Cleveland Browns in the Hall of Fame game, showing why he has been considered one of the better prospects coming out of this draft at the quarterback position. Really was quite impressive, but he's gone. UCLA now at plus 1,400. What say ye, Ron? Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, after 7 years at UCLA, he should be ready.
There you go. Yes.
But they recruited some quarterbacks that are coming in. They recruited a kid, I believe he's from Detroit, I believe. I think his last name is Moore, but don't hold me to it.
Yes, Dante Moore. He's the front runner to replace Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Go ahead.
I've seen some film on him. He's a player, so he's got the factor. So he could easily step in there and create some problems right away.
And then, John, right before we get to this commercial break, what are your thoughts on UCLA? Go ahead.
I'll make it simple. I'm going to pass on him. I have not been a Chip Kelly fan for his entire career since coaching in the NFL. And then, the problem is defense. And I just can't back a team that has no defensive presence.
That's what I'm talking about. When I get back from this short commercial break, you guys stay on the line. Got my main man, Ron, Third Down Best Bets, Vegas Scoreboard Express, co-host and contributor. Follow him on Instagram at RaiderHawk1. And, of course, our special guest today, John Ryan from the Predictive Sports Playbook. We were supposed to jump into some Big Ten today, but like I said, we're on the West Coast. Pac-12 is what we're giving you, and we're the ones that are breaking it down. This is the last season that they're going to be in this incarnation, and there is a ton of value when we come back. We're getting into the big money plays in this Pac-12 conference. So you guys keep it locked and stay tuned. JB the Ticket, Vegas Scoreboard Express. John, any shout-outs before I go to this short commercial break? Ron, you as well. Go ahead.
Oh, just follow me on at John Ryan Sports and the number 1. Got some exciting stuff going on every single day with some analytical trends and angles I'm sure you're going to like, and some free best bets.
And Ron, go ahead.
Yeah, and I want to remind everyone about Linwood Hamilton. About his GoFundMe account, his documentary coming in. Anything you can do to help, it'd be wonderful. Let's keep this going. Let's keep this man's story out there.
That's right. Linwood, Hard Rock, Hamilton. Again, if you are into life-changing stories and want to be a part of that, give a go to my website, VegasScoreboardExpress.com. Scroll down to the contributor section and click on that link for Linwood, Hard Rock, Hamilton, Defender of the Youth. He's doing it for the children, people. He's got a great story that can be inspiring to a lot of athletes and a lot of young people around the world who need the inspiration to keep going and persevere to continue to follow their dreams. So again, when I get back from this short commercial break, I'm your host and boss of the big board, JB the Ticket. Follow me on Instagram at JB the Ticket, and you already know what time it is on my website. We're going to give you the big money in the Pac-12. Grab that bankroll. Let's get you paid.
You're listening to the boss of the big ball.
This football season, stay in the game with Fubo TV. Over 100 live channels, including NFL Network, NBA TV, and FS1. Don't miss any of the action. Get 7 days free on us at VegasScoreboardExpress.com. Don't get cabled, get Fubo TV.
JP the Ticket, Vegas Scoreboard Express, back on the line with you. Got John Ryan from the Predictive Sports Bet Playbook. You can follow him over at John Ryan Sports 1. And, of course, Ron Third Down Best Bets, VSX co-host and contributor. Welcome back, guys. Thank you so much for jumping back on the line. We're going to get into the remainder of the Pac-12 conference. You guys can get these bet picks over at our partners at BetUS. Use offer code VSX125 in a legal jurisdiction of legal age. And, of course, if you need help, be sure to get it. So we're jumping into the Cougars. I talked about this team a little bit earlier, gave them the wrong name up in Washington. But, yes, the Washington State Cougars right now, rotation number 107. These guys are at plus 4,000. Last year, they were the dog that was barking for me. I put some cash in my pocket last year with some of those Washington State picks. These guys had a high motor defense. They stayed in games on solid ground. Jake Dickert, his second season. Cameron Ward was really awesome last year. 3,200 yards in the air. That was a dog that was barking. 23 touchdowns last season. And the supporting cast around him is making some changes. But I look at college football from the coaching perspective. So when you talk about a quarterback that's come in this season, got some changes on the offensive line, but that head coach seems to have locked into Pullman. He's able to get quality transfers and get quality guys to come play for him. And last year it showed with that quality record. Go ahead.
Yeah, they really had a great year for them offensively, but the problem is, you just said it, Pullman, Washington. They're not even close to Seattle. I mean, I just wanted to look at their stadium. I Googled it, and it's like they're in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, man.
They're almost it's really. So I think that's going to hurt recruiting at some point, and now that Washington's leaving, I think they'll have a good season. I don't see them replicating the same numbers they had last year. I mean, it came together really well for them last year, and I don't think they can do that again. But I think they'll be good, but they're not going to win the Pac-12 by any chance, no.
All right, John, your thoughts on this. This is one of the teams that are going to remain. Came out last night off of CBS Sports. They're very unhappy with Washington and Oregon, defecting over to the Big Ten. So you got the Washington State Cougars here. Do you think there's a little bit of revenge and kick you on your butt on the way out the door type of play that you're going to see from this team this year? And if you're talking about it from the betting perspective, again, rotation number 107, the Washington State Cougars are at plus 4,000 to win the Pac-12. Go ahead.
Well, the Washington State at Washington is the last game of the regular season. So, yeah, depending on how the seasons go for these two teams, Washington State would like nothing more than to knock Washington out of the Pac-12 championship. So we got to be aware of that. But Washington State has their third different coordinator now, both on offense and defense in the past 3 years. That makes it real hard for me to even look at these guys as a potential team that would, pull off the amazing upset and even win their division in the Pac-12, let alone win the whole thing. I think you wait till further in the year, see how they're playing, and then take a look at that last game of the year for revenge, sending Washington out the door.
Moving down the list, talking about those Arizona Wildcats, another cat team in here talking about the Arizona Wildcats. They got rid of their coach. They got 1-11, Jed Fish's debut. I mean, this team is just bottom stalwart in the Pac-12. I don't think anybody's knocking on their door to pick them up. There's nowhere to go but up. Rotation number 108, the Arizona Wildcats at plus 8,000. You're talking about a long dog, a cat that should be a wolf. I don't see this team doing absolutely anything. I think they're still shell-shocked knowing that the entire conference is breaking down and no one's knocking on their door. Go ahead.
Well, they're going to the Big 12, so I think early last week they agreed to it, so they got two more to go.
Slaughterhouse. Go ahead.
Fish he actually did a decent job last year. They didn't have nothing there when he got there. It was pretty empty, and he recruited a really good transfer class in there. He got some pretty good recruits coming in. I mean, they'll turn the corner, but it's not going to be this year. I mean, you'll see a definite improvement, but no, they're not ready by any means.
Talking about those Arizona Wildcats, John, if you got any thoughts on them, yay or nay, plus 8,000, is that a wasted bet? I tell you, yeah.
Thoughts at all here. You're dealing with one of the worst defenses in college football last year, and they only bring back 3 starters from that unit. There's a big learning curve again here. If anything, maybe the defense will be a little bit better, just simply because you have fresh blood in the unit. But to make a case that they're going to do anything at all is absolutely insane, in my opinion.
All right, we're going to move down the list. We got about 2 minutes left, guys. The Cal Bears, rotation number 109, Cal Bears at plus 7,500. John, I'll throw that one to you. Go ahead.
The Cal Bears, again, another situation where I don't see really any opportunity here. It's a type of team, again, that let the conference come to you, so to speak. See how the betting lines go. See if the market adjusts to how they're playing. If anything, if this team starts out on a decent win streak because of the schedule and goes, say, 3-2, you might be still getting some value betting a team that might be better than what we think they are in certain situations. So again, they're not a team to bet in the futures, but during the course of the season, I'm willing to bet they're going to come up on my models a couple times during the regular season.
All right, moving down the list right now. We're going to skip these guys. We're going to round up the show with them. Got Arizona State, rotation number 111 at plus 10,000. Go ahead, Ron. Arizona State.
They'll be better, but they were shell shocked. You know, the whole program, new coach, everything. Kenny Dillingham, Oregon's offensive coordinator's there now, head coach. We'll see what he brought in with him. He's got some recruits. But
yeah, didn't they escort Herm Williams off the field for just how terrible he did? Didn't they just fire him and escort him off the field? Isn't that what happened? Herm Edwards.
He was lucky that, they could. I think they really pounced on him more than they did.
Talking about that Stanford Cardinal going to rotation number 112, the Stanford Cardinal. John, do you think these guys got any chance? Because I want to round it out with Colorado, rotation number 110, because you got Deion Sanders inspiring these guys, man. They're at plus 10,000. Stanford is at plus 10,000. Rotation number 110 for Colorado, 112 for Stanford. Out of those two teams, who do you think has the best chance? I'm going to go with Colorado and Coach Prime because the way he's able to inspire those kids, I think they're going to be shocking a lot of people because they were the first movers out of the conference. You know, Coach Prime is like, I'm moving, I'm taking the players, and I'm leaving the conference. But talk to me, plus 10,000, those two teams, and then we got to get out of here. Got about a minute left. Go ahead.
Well, I guess at plus 10,000, you got to put some pizza money on it, maybe $5, $10 just to do it. But seriously, they have no chance here. I think they have to worry about beating Southern Utah in week 1 before they entertain thoughts about winning their division.
There you go, Ron. Last thoughts on Stanford? About 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Stanford is going to be better, but Colorado is the way to go. And since I got a quick second, let's talk about it for a second. What about the poor Rose Bowl? What has this done to the Rose Bowl now?
You never know, man. You never know.
What's going to happen to the granddaddy of them all?
The granddaddy of them all is going to have 2 teams from Michigan playing in it pretty much annually. Give a shout out and a thanks to my co-host today, Ron Third Down Best Bets, and our special guest, John Ryan, over at the Predictive Sports Playbook. Again, you guys can check these games out over on Fubo TV. Go to FuboTV.com. Final shout outs, guys, and then we're going to go ahead and sign off. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to mention American Cancer Society. Everybody donate time, money, blood, anything you can. Please get involved in the fight.
And John, go ahead.
Follow me at John Ryan Sports and the number 1 at Twitter. And I also have a lead article over on rotowire.com featuring the Big Ten and who I think is going to be the champion of the Big Ten, and also the national champion coming from the Big Ten this year.
You heard it here, John Ryan over at the Predictive Sports Playbook, JB the Ticket, Vegas Scoreboard Express. I'm going to send you guys out to the door with the doors this morning. Need you to break over to the other side, JB the Ticket, Vegas Scoreboard Express. Follow me on Instagram at JB the Ticket. It's time to grab your bankroll, hit the window, and beat the line.
Try to run, try to hide. Big ball. To the other side. JB the Ticket. To the other side.